The dollar bill. Why is US paper money all the same size and color, unlike almost every other country? Why is the US the only superpower that refuses to change its money? Because the US dollar is a global outlier. Out of over 180 countries that issue paper currency, the United States is the only one that still prints all denominations in the exact same size and nearly identical colors. While countries like Canada or the UK have moved to colorful, plastic, polymer, bills of varying sizes, the US has stuck to its greenback roots for several calculated, and some slightly controversial, reasons. 1. Global trust and the reserve currency. The US dollar is the world's primary reserve currency. Billions of dollars circulate outside of the US, often in places where people might not have access to high-tech banking or the internet. Consistency is security. If the US suddenly changed the size or color of the $100 bill, the most widely held note globally, it could cause mass panic or confusion in international markets. Legal tender forever. Unlike most countries, the US government has a policy that all Federal Reserve notes remain legal tender regardless of when they were issued. You can still spend a $20 bill from 1920 today. 2. Vested interests and the vending machine problem. A massive reason for the lack of change is the cost of infrastructure. The vending industry. Every vending machine, ATM, and self-checkout kiosk in America is built to accept one specific size, 6.14 by 2.61 inches. Changing the size of the bills would require a multi-billion-dollar overhaul of almost every automated machine in the country. Manufacturing costs. The Bureau of Engraving and Printing, BEP, uses specialized equipment that is highly optimized for this specific size and paper, which is actually a 75% cotton, 25% linen blend. Switching to polymer or different sizes would require replacing entire factories' worth of machinery. 3. The $1 bill protective law. Believe it or not, it is actually illegal for the government to significantly redesign the $1 bill. Under the Financial Services and General Government Appropriations Act, Congress has repeatedly passed a provision that prohibits the Treasury from spending any money to redesign the $1 bill. The reason, redesigning the $1 bill would likely lead to it being replaced by a $1 coin, which is cheaper to maintain in the long run but deeply unpopular with the American public. Lobbying from the vending machine industry and the traditional paper cotton industry has kept the $1 bill stuck in time since 1963. 4. Accessibility versus aesthetics. Critics point out that the US is one of the least accessible currencies for the blind or visually impaired. While foreign currencies use different sizes or tactile braille bumps to help users distinguish between bills, the US relied on a raised ink, intaglio, process for decades. Only recently, starting in 1996, did the US begin adding larger, high-contrast numbers and subtle color shifts, like the peach and blue in the $20, to help, but they refused to change the physical size due to the infrastructure reasons mentioned above. Next, every other country uses different sizes and bright colors so you don't break a $100 thinking it's a $5. But America? We stay green. Because exactly. It feels like a massive design flaw, right? In almost any other country, you can tell the value of the bill just by the color hitting your peripheral vision or the way it feels in your pocket. But in the US, if you're in a dark bar or a rush at a drive-thru, it's terrifyingly easy to hand over a $100 Benjamin when you meant to give a $1 George. Here's the breakdown of why the US sticks to this visual nightmare. 1. The tradition trap. Americans are weirdly sentimental about the greenback. Whenever the Treasury suggests a major redesign, there's a public outcry that the money won't look like money anymore. People associate that specific dull green with stability and power. 2. Low-tech for a reason. Because the US dollar is the most counterfeited currency in history, the government is terrified of making it too easy to copy. Many colorful polymer, plastic, bills used in other countries actually have a limited number of suppliers. The US insists on making its own unique paper blend, cotton linen, that is incredibly hard for casual counterfeiters to source, even if it makes the bills look boring and identical. 3. The stackability factor. Banks and businesses in the US love that the bills are the same size. It makes high-speed counting machines simpler and cheaper. If the US switched to tiered sizing, like the euro or British pound, every cash-handling machine in the country, from the Federal Reserve down to your local laundromat, would have to be scrapped and replaced. 4. Subtle sneaky changes. Even though we stay green, the Treasury is getting slightly more adventurous. If you look closely at a new $20, there are faint shades of peach and blue. The $100 has a giant 3D blue security ribbon. The problem? It's still not enough. For someone with visual impairments, a $1 and a $100 are practically identical. The US is actually under a court order to make the bills more accessible, but they are dragging their feet because of the costs involved. And very important. Did you know that the $1 bill is the only one that hasn't had any major design changes in over 50 years? Every other bill, $5, $10, $20, $50, $100, has been updated with modern, slightly colorful, security features, but the $1 stays exactly the same because it's considered too low value for counterfeiters to bother with. So, the next time you're paying in a dim room, double check that number in the corner. It's the only thing saving you from a very expensive mistake. It's not actually paper. It's a secret blend of 75% cotton and 25% linen. If you washed a euro, it's ruined. Wash a dollar? It's fine? And the craziest part? There's a hidden pattern called the EU Ryan constellation that tells your printer to shut down if you try to copy it. Thank you so much.